Welcome, rational thinkers and champions of evidence-based reasoning, to the Free of Faith podcast. This is the place where we dare to peel back the comforting but opaque layers of faith-based claims and expose their logical shortcomings. Today we're diving into a theological double standard that many believers have never paused to scrutinize. Can humans legitimately be held eternally accountable for following a nature we never chose and cannot escape? Imagine a man named Boris. Boris tells us he loves puppies. His house is full of puppies. But Boris has a surprising policy. Any puppy that barks, even once, is hurled into a pitch-black basement to suffer for the rest of its life. And here's the kicker. Puppies, being puppies, inevitably bark. It's in their nature. They can be trained, conditioned, even rewarded for silence. But at some point, they bark. How do we feel about Boris? Most people would be outraged. Is it loving to punish a puppy for doing what it cannot help but do? Nearly all humans scoff at the suggestion. Yet swap the puppies for humans, and Boris for God, and suddenly we're expected to call this justice. Christianity teaches us that all humans are born with a genetically transmitted sinful nature. From the moment a naked man and woman bit into a fruit, all of their offspring were cursed with an irresistible inclination towards sin. Sin becomes inevitable, not optional, not rare, inevitable. We are told, with a straight face, that humans must accept that they deserve eternal damnation for acting according to their default settings. Let's clearly lay this out. The crime is unavoidable, the judgment is infinite, and the opportunity to escape is, for billions, either incoherent or inaccessible. That's not justice. The Bible tells us that a single sin is enough to separate us from God forever. A child's lie, envy over a toy, even a young girl's anger towards her abusive father. But let's think rationally about this. If sin is genuinely in our nature and unavoidable, then punishment on the basis of sin collapses under the weight of its own contradiction. Accountability implies volition. Justice requires choice. This is why our criminal justice systems don't prosecute infants or people with severe mental impairments. We recognize that certain conditions remove culpability because the person lacks the capacity to fully understand or resist the behavior. And yet, Christian doctrine proposes eternal punishment for what amounts to an unchosen condition. That's not only inconsistent, it's absurd. Let's layer this further. What purpose does eternal punishment serve? Typically, punishment is applied with goals in mind: to prevent future harm, to rehabilitate the offender, or to repair social order. But eternal damnation doesn't serve any of these purposes. It can't deter the punished, as they're not returning. It doesn't rehabilitate, as they never get the chance. And it doesn't restore, as they're cut off forever. What kind of justice is that? It's justice with no endgame. Justice without correction. Justice without mercy. It's the kind of justice you'd expect from a tyrant, not a loving God. Let's go back to Boris and the barking puppy. If the analogy strikes you as cruel, ask yourself, what makes it any different when God does it? The puppy was doomed to bark. The human is doomed to sin. If one deserves compassion, why not the other? Some theologians will protest.
But humans have free will. They can choose righteousness.
But that argument collapses under empirical weight. If no one in human history has avoided sin, then what value does that theoretical choice really have? A choice that has never once succeeded is indistinguishable from no choice at all. Others argue that God's holiness demands punishment, that even the smallest sin offends an infinitely holy being, thus warranting an infinite consequence. But that logic is circular. It assumes that infinite offense is reasonable when it's only emotionally manipulative. It's the cosmic equivalent of claiming that a curfew broken by a child deserves the death penalty because the parent is infinitely noble. Still others appeal to mystery.
Human minds can't understand divine justice.
But if divine justice requires abandoning everything we know about fairness, compassion, and proportionality, then what exactly is it? A black box? A demand for blind allegiance? Or a divine shrug cloaked in omnipotence? And if you believe in hell, ponder this. Will those in heaven feel content while their loved ones suffer in hell? A great many theologians say the saints will receive the righteous mind of God and will smile in satisfaction at the justice of their loved ones' horrific torment. Others say the screams of the damned will not be heard. Their families in heaven will simply forget them. Is heaven worth it if it requires forgetting the people you love or feeling satisfaction in their screams? Here's the logical shape of the argument. If someone cannot avoid a behavior because it is both natural and inevitable, they cannot be held morally accountable. If they are not accountable, punishing them, especially eternally, is unjust. Christian doctrine asserts that sin is natural and inevitable for all humans. Therefore, eternal punishment for sin is unjust, and the claim that such punishment is administered by a just God leads to contradiction. You don't need to twist Scripture or redefine justice to see the flaw here. You only need to follow the logic. The bark nature analogy exposes a fundamental incoherence in the idea of eternal punishment for an unchosen nature. Let's stop pretending this system makes sense. Infinite punishment for following a human nature that is both unrequested and unavoidable is unequivocally unjust. If this conversation has sparked some questions or even some discomfort, that's a good thing. Questioning is the first step toward clarity. Don't settle for easy answers or platitudes. Dive deeper, explore further, and demand evidence. Head over to Free of Faith to read the full article and join the discussion. Let's keep this conversation going, because the pursuit of truth doesn't stop at questioning. It's about finding answers that actually make sense. Thank you for tuning in to the Free of Faith podcast, where we expose the logical failings of faith and celebrate the clarity that comes with reason. Until next time, stay skeptical, stay curious, and remember, rationality always outperforms faith. Engage reality, and I'll see you soon.